Then Olivier, they're back on the ramp now, halfway back to the back, and Olivier is screaming, "Bring it!" to his cohorts, the Young Bucks, who just happen to be standing by. They don't want to bring it. Finally, okay. And they wheel out a framework with what is basically a barbed wire trampoline. What was that thing? 15 feet across each way, 15 feet square?
Something like that, like a web.
And a web of barbed wire and all the barbed wire shit and whatever the fuck. This is when I did pause it and leave the room for a minute because I was going to get mad. I was determined to see this thing out, but I had to walk around for a minute. This thing, there's no way they could have got this to the ring. First of all, there's no purpose that this is not a real thing. This is something that they made up, that they built to take a bump into. It's not a real thing. It serves no other purpose. So they built something to wheel to the ramp that in this fight they were going to be in, Olivier knew that they would somehow end up on the ramp because you couldn't get it to the ring. So it was only going to be useful if you could get your opponent halfway back to the locker room down the ramp in this place where this thing could be wheeled up next to it. And then it was only good if you took a bump off the ramp into the thing. And then they teased throwing each other off into the fucking thing. And then they took a bump into the thing. How did Olivier, as I said, know that he'd need it? How did he know they'd be in the right place? How did he figure this would help him win? It's all so fucking stupid. And then they did the reversals and finally a suplex and both of them went into the barbed wire. And I got news for you. I'm willing to be proven wrong. If somebody whose word I respect or opinion I take seriously or whatever was to tell me it was real barbed wire, then I'd say, okay, but this was phony as a football bat barbed wire. Because they landed in it and got hung up in it and they got back up and nobody was ripped significantly more than they were to begin with.
The YouTube Music app has ad-free playlists just for your ears. And your fingers. Try 1 month free.
So they either used fake barbed wire after the fake glass, or there's no other fucking explanation. Would they not have been severely damaged more than that by taking that bump into real barbed wire? 4-prong barbed wire that they use on farms that I've seen many a time since I was a child?
I thought the same thing. Like there was some blood early in the match, and then as the match kept going, there was less blood. I mean, they're using glass, they're barbed wire web, somehow no blood.
And then the referees and all the fucking ring crew and everybody takes like 10 people forever to get these 2 stupid fucks out of this thing, and the whole thing died. And then they took a bump through one of the fucking set lights, and I wrote, why won't this end? And then there comes Olivier out of the fucking light with a goofy face, and they go back to the ring, and then Moxley cuts the canvas off, which takes forever, and takes off the pad and uncovers the wood, and they take bumps on the wood. And I look now, we are over 3.5 hours into this fucking show, and I didn't see the pre-show. I'm talking about the actual pay-per-view. Almost 40 minutes into this fucking hokey-ass, big-budget Ian Rotten Mud Show bullshit that they're putting on pay-per-view for $50 fucking dollars. Then Moxley kicks out of a DDT on the wood. Then Olivier begins his grand climb pose where he stops at the buckles and points up and looks up and then takes his exaggerated steps and then realizes, oh, wait. Breaks character of the whole thing, drags Moxley a foot farther out. Just 1 foot. And then does the climb again and misses his goddamn flippy thingy onto the wood. 2 count. What the fuck? And then Moxley DDTs him on the wood 1, 2, 3. And then just to make sure that everybody knows that this new promotion is going to treat wrestling seriously as a sport and be a mainstream success on national television and everything, Moxley flips off the camera with a double bird and because he thinks he's Steve Austin and says fuck and motherfucker at least twice into the camera after he's already shit on the business and everything involved in it. What the fuck? That's what they ended their show that they charged us $50 with one good match on it, with the only guy in the company. How does Cody coexist with the fucking opera star, old Olivier? I can't wait to hear him sing. And then we get to the main event that everybody wanted to talk about. Now, I'll talk about this, and I may have to go relieve myself because it's going to give me gas again. Their big pay-per-view main event on this pay-per-view card, a cage match. Old Twinkle Toes himself, Kenny Olivier, against Plumber Moxley. Let me make this clear. I can understand, and I've said this on the program, I can understand a bit of the appeal of Kenny. He's athletic, and his presentation in Japan, where they like the guy jeans anyway, makes him look a lot better than he is, and I can understand that appeal. And if you like video game wrestling matches, I can see where you could tolerate this fucking guy. But explain to me Moxley. He looks like an outlaw mud show piece of shit. He acts like an outlaw mud show piece of shit. And just like his hero and boyfriend, the bank-addicted drug robber, all he's ever going to be is an outlaw mud show piece of shit.
I told you what it was. It's a true cult of personality. CM Punk comes out to the song, but it's a real thing. It's a concept beyond the song. That's what we have with Moxley and the AEW fans.
Why would anybody want to be around this guy's personality?
That I couldn't tell you, but that's what it is.
I mean, you know, so anyway, they start this match. The first action that you see, because Moxley leaves the cage and jumps Kenny on the floor, and the first action you see is Kenny throwing the fakest, weakest, girliest punches at Moxley, not even connecting. They're just swinging their arms and hands. They're not throwing anything at anybody. It's just meaningless motion.
Can I jump in here?
Please.
Because I don't have as big a problem with Omega as you do, and you know where I stand on Moxley, but you're being almost too nice about not just Omega, but both of their punches, but Omega's were towards the camera, so you got to see what they were. I mean,
yeah,
they were just whiffs. I mean, it wasn't even like, I'm going to try to make this look good. I'm just going to swing. It looked really fake to me.
That's what they're doing. That's what, because they're too busy trying to concentrate on Moxley wants to bleed and be violent, and Doofus wants to be a video game character. So they can't be bothered to do shit that actually looks good, which is my problem with both of them. The fucking guy can dive off the roof and do triple flips, can't throw a fucking punch. So I made notes. Sloppy brawling. Claudio and Useless come out, and they jump fucking who's he, what's he? And then here comes the Hardley Boys with super kicks. They throw Useless off the stage, and then Claudio throws Maddie off the stage, and then Nikki dives off the stage. The match has been forgotten. We don't even see where the cage is or where the people are. And I wrote morbid curiosity. I can't skip this. I've got to see how bad it is. So security broke up the fights outside. They get in the cage, and they do a fake 1-2 that nobody sells. Then they stand there and trade chops on purpose.
The 1-2 got me, because Moxley does that in every one of his matches. Here these guys are, apparently they hate each other. Both of their cliques are fighting at ringside. The stupidest part with the stage, with the dive off the stage, whatever. They get in there after all this. Now let's trade back and forth. But it's not just let's trade. I'm going to hit you. Now I'm going to stand here, take a breath, and stick my chest out. If you watch it and actually time it, it was ridiculous. It was just, I'm going to feed you. Why? What is the point of that? Is it, I'm a badass so you can hit me? Like, what is the point in doing that? He does it in every match. He did it here after jump starting it.
And then Kenny threw some more fake punches that Moxley doesn't sell. He doesn't even register when somebody punches him. He just throws it back. It's so phony. And then Kenny did some flips. And then he pulled a barbed wire wrapped chair from between the ring and the cage and pulled it in. And now they're using Kenny hits the plumber in the back with the barbed wire chair, then stomps on it. And so now dipshit, not only the plumber, his back is bleeding and his head is bleeding. And I wrote, why not put Ian Rotten on national television and give all the fans free hepatitis? This is for the lowest common denominator. This is garbage television for stupid people. And it's so embarrassing
I think it's
that they call this pro wrestling, and the only alternative to this is Vince's Fairyland. So you either got to look at wrestling for 5-year-olds or garbage wrestling for convicted felons. There's no in between. I don't know if this is actual, real, legitimate 4-prong barbed wire. I don't know if they're getting 2-prong. I don't know if they're clipping some of them. They were definitely cutting their back up. But it's still stupid, and this still looks believable as barbed wire, which makes both of them complete idiots. And why would you want to see this? Because they're not doing a good enough job of making you convinced they're really fighting. They're obviously cooperating, but they're still getting hurt.
The DraftKings Casino app. It's got something for everyone. Like tons of slots. Winner, winner, early bird dinner. Table games. Double down. Even DraftKings Casino.
And that's the stupidest thing I can think of. So
it's dope.
Anyway, they unscrewed the top turnbuckle. The top rope was down, and Moxley had the hook in Kenny's mouth. And again, with Mr. Badass Plumber Moxley, I would love to see Moxley just go up nose to chest and have that badass look in a real situation in a bar somewhere with Steve Williams. I think, in my opinion, that Plumber Moxley, if he was on the wrong side of Steve Dr. Death Williams in a real situation, would do one of two things. He'd either be hospitalized in 25 seconds, or Dr. Death would have made an appetizer out of him and eaten him in about 15. So, anyway, then they got tied up in the rope, and then Moxley goes and pulls out a bag, and it's broken glass. And that's why I wrote, could someone send him to mental rehab now that we got the alcohol rehab out of the way, so they can see what this fucking major malfunction is in his brain pan. And then he took a bump in his own glass. And as he took the bump in the glass, he sells it for like 5 seconds and then grabs a sleeper on Kenny. And at that's the point I said, this is too ridiculous. There's 8 minutes left on the air. I'm fast forwarding. So I fast forwarded to the point where Kenny hits him with his little Canterbury knee, and this time they'd gimmicked the cage. They went through the cage to the floor. And that looked pretty good because Kenny almost broke his fucking leg when he got hung across the thing. So it looked like it really hurt people, because it probably did.
When you say got hung across the thing, Kenny hits the knee on Moxley, but when Moxley goes through the cage, Kenny goes with him, but his leg is in between the cage and the ring, stuck there. I mean, he's lucky he didn't tear everything right there.
Yeah, and he crotched himself on the metal cross beam of the cage while he stuck his right leg in between the cage and the ring, so he could have broken the leg. Thank God when he fucking landed crotch first on that railing, there's nothing in that part of his body to fucking injure. So then Moxley gets a screwdriver, and he's going to stab Kenny in the face. But that's where Don Fallis comes in. And he grabs the screwdriver away from Moxley and then, bails out to the corner or something where...
In a cartoony way.
In a very cartoony way to call attention to... It wasn't like, I'm a pussy begging for my life. It's like, I'm showing you that I'm acting. And then Kenny... Now that Moxley's been relieved of the screwdriver, Kenny grabs the plumber. Stabbing motion. He's got a fucking screwdriver, whether it's a flathead or a Phillips. If you stabbed someone in the top of the head as hard as he worked that he did, point is, Kenny sells his head, but he wasn't bleeding right away. And Moxley crawled over and covered him 1, 2, 3. And then they keep the camera off Kenny forever while everybody's going, why would Don do this? Why would he do such a thing? And there's a close-up of Don. And finally, about 2 minutes later,